Back again for the second time today. For those of you who are on my Patreon, I'll actually talk about that a little bit later. But I wanted to talk about something that I thought was going to be fun, something enlightening. And Brother David pops on and says, man, that's a controversial subject. I said, controversial? How could this be a controversial subject? Well, here we go. I wanted to point out a few things. And by the way, let's do it like this. What I'm going to point out today has a lot of things that a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable with. I am going to be talking about specifically taking advantage of economic inequities. Geo-arbitrage. Let me back up. Geo-arbitrage, for those who don't know, geo-arbitrage is a phrase that is, I think it's a relatively new phrase. And it was started by we don't know who. It became popular by Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. Well, let me show you guys real quick what geo-arbitrage translates to. It's a fancy word with a simple meaning. In a nutshell, it involves moving in order to lower your cost of living. The term was made popular by Tim Ferriss, the guy behind The 4-Hour Workweek and the creator of the well-known podcast, The Tim Ferriss Show. Okay, I'm going to be talking about, like I said, I'm talking about a couple of things. I'm talking about economic inequities and taking advantage of it. I'm talking about global arbitrage. I'm talking about capitalism, exploiting capitalism. I'm talking about all those things. So at some point, good afternoon, Brother Jeffrey. Glad to see you here. Omar, thanks for showing up. You quero vir
Bom dia.
Yeah, Omar. And Brother Sid Owsley back in the game. So let's do it like this. Dave, where'd you go?
I'm right here.
I can't see you. Turn your camera on.
Oh, I got the image. Well, I'll
turn your camera back on. I like it.
Man, I'm loving this. I mean, you can just do this. This is kind of cool. Look, you can go in and out. But anyway, go ahead.
Dave is upset because he just bought a simple Chromebook and the camera on it is high res as he.
I mean, I can put a picture of Donald Trump and be looking like him. That's great. Let me go ahead and find a picture of Joe Biden. Since you ain't black. But anyway.
Here we go. That's a different conversation for a different day. So here's what I wanted to have today. Today is going to be, let's be clear about this. Today is blatant propaganda for Brazil. Right? I normally talk about the world. I normally talk about a lot of things. Matter of fact, for those who don't know, we talk about three important things. We talk about money, which is my favorite subject, right? We talk about world travel, not just Brazil where I live. Normally we talk about a lot of different places. Mm-hmm. How you doing, Brother Craig? And boa tarde, Ucherad. And we also talk a lot about social issues. If you're new here, make sure you click the like, share, and subscribe button. That's really important. That's how we get to have these interesting conversations. So I want to talk about what being middle class means. Let's open up. First, let's say, what is middle class? Dave, what do you think middle class in America is?
That's too subjective of a statement to even have a quality conversation.
Okay, give me your definition.
Middle class is, according to me, is the ability to own property and save a little bit of money for retirement. I mean, how can we define middle class? Because middle class in Uzbekistan is quite different from middle class in Flower Mound, Texas, where you need to be making at least $200,000 a year to be middle class. So that's a very, very subjective statement. But for argument's sake, we're going to use, because you're specifically talking, Yusef, about people moving from primarily America or westernized country and moving to a Brazil specifically. So we're going to stay focused on Brazil. We're not going to talk about any other country, but Brazil compared to what you're saying people move from. So I'm going to use a numerical figure as to what middle class is, and that is $70,000 per year.
Okay, now let's try this. Here's an article we just pulled up. This article is from September 21st, 2019.
Okay? Uh-oh.
Middle class America. Now that's a big range. I'm looking for something a little bit more defined.
I said 70,000 a year.
Yeah, but well, that's a big gap. But
is that too high? Okay, I'll knock it down to 50. But now you're pushing it.
But let's look at this. Okay, let's say here, household of one, 26 to 78.
26,000. Okay, boy.
That 78,000, first off, doesn't even account for taxes. But let's not even talk about the money part just yet. Let's not define middle class only by the numbers. Let's talk about in the United States, how many middle class people do you know that are in a situation that allows them, for example, I don't have, kids or anything like that, to have a full-time nanny. How much money do you think you have to be earning in the United States? And I'm talking to the people out here.
Off the table, because middle class families don't have full-time nannies. Next. 1 point for Yusef. Next.
Reigning Woman, thank you for pointing that out. And you know what, specifically, and I don't know whether or not Brother Omar Hogue, pronouncing your name correctly, Omar Hogue, you said that you are learning skills to work remotely. Definitely go into my Patreon. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I've got some things in there that'll definitely help you. So let's just do this one first, that 1 point. A middle-class Brazilian, okay? And I'm going to give you something that was given to me by one of my Brazilian friends. And he said, this is something that was written in 2013 that stopped being true during the economic boom, but unfortunately is absolutely accurate again. I said, well, what do you mean? He showed me this. That means if you combine 20% and 40% of Brazilians live on less than 2,000 Brazilian real a year, which is about a little under $400 US per month. Okay? Think about that for a second. In this country, you can be middle class, and let's call middle class that 16 to let's call it that 16% mark, making about $3,400 a month. They can actually have a nanny take care of their kid during the day. When you bump it up to $6,000 a month, which is, I don't know, let's call it 1,000, maybe 1,200 US per month. That middle class income here allows you to not only have a nanny, but you can probably have a maid that either lives there or comes in every day. My apartment, let me tell you something. I have friends that get mad at me. My apartment is little, I think 40 square meter apartment, something like that. And I have a maid that comes in and she cleans my apartment.
I've seen your apartment. No, not a maid, Yusef.
A day cleaner, let's call her, whatever you want to call her. And her fee is roughly 120 Brazilian real. I give her 150 just because I can, right? Just because I can, I do that. People, I am a middle-class person in a country that doesn't have a middle class. When you can be a middle-class person in a country that doesn't have a middle class, meaning, let's say I work 6 to 8 hours a day like you, I can afford levels of luxury in Brazil unheard of in the United States.
That is well, I'm going to say it in Portuguese. Brazil's financiamento instável. Brazil is financially unstable. Brazil tem muito crime. Brazil tem muito racismo. So you have some, but let's deal with your first statement. I'm going to be the counter. I'm going to be devil's advocate. I'm going to be the Trump advocate. I mean, devil's advocate. I mean, advocate today. And,
by the way, people who have something to say about me having a maid, I made them a little video.
Look, Yusef, you're simply you're not making money in the Brazilian economy, number one. So you're not really moving to Brazil and getting a Brazilian job in the Brazilian economy. You're simply using the finances that you were able to obtain outside the country vis-a-vis the United States and your American passport and your blue privilege to take advantage of an economy that's poor. As the Brazilian economy rise, as the middle class rise, every goal of every country is, Brazilians don't want to be a pobre forever. Brazil is a country that is striving to gain in economic gains. And as they gain in economic gains, your ability to take advantage will go down. Coupled with the fact that Brazil is relatively stable now, but it's a country that is subject to coups and all kinds of issues that goes on. What may happen today, you may be caught in a hyperinflation situation tomorrow. So you have to be not disingenuous, but you have to be, you can't paint such a rosy picture. It is not easy for someone to make how many reals a month did you say was middle class in Brazil?
6,000.
It's not easy to make 6,000 reais a month on the Brazilian economy. You have to make that taking advantage of either what you're doing is making money outside the Brazilian economy and bring it in. Tem problema não, cara, eu tenho moro aqui. David Fears wrote a message in Portuguese. Yeah, Yusef, so that presentation is not really honest about where the Brazilian economy stands. You're simply saying that if an American can make an American salary and move to Brazil, they're instantly rich. And that is kind of too simplistic of a presentation.
So let's do this. First, you said Brazil has a lot of problems. You named the top two problems. Excuse me, I left my window open last night with my fan on. The temperature dropped, and then I had cold air blowing in on me. It's only 70 degrees today, so I'm a little chilly. Let's do it like this. The first thing you said, first off, let's take the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit in the room is Brazil has racism.
Yeah, Brazil tem muito racismo.
In the United States of America, you have survived the worst elements of racism in modern history.
Absolutely no worse than Brazil, which had slavery longer than the United States,
yep.
And still, and with the three classes, and we got to realize if we're talking about racism, particularly as it applies to African Americans, if there are African Americans watching this, remember you may go to Brazil and your light-skinned aunt or your light-skinned mother will be in a different race. So get ready for all that nonsense. We're talking about New Orleans all over the entire country. So the racismo, the same police brutality, you can't tell me that there's not geostructural and institutional racism in the favela, especially when it comes to Rio de Janeiro and Salvador Bahia.
Repeat that.
You can't tell me, you can't even talk about the structural and institutional racism when it comes to police brutality in Brazil. That's a well-known infrastructure problems when it comes to minorities, and don't even talk about the indigenous or native Brazilians who have been completely decimated by the Portuguese.
Thank you very much for making my point. You just said the problems that the police do for Black Brazilians in the favelas, excuse me, and and by the way, favelas are shanty towns. The United States,
the ghetto.
No, they're further down than the ghetto. America doesn't even have anything.
Well, I mean, we got relative. The ghettos in America are favelas in Brazil. Now we've both been to favelas. I've been to favelas in Rio, and you know it's rough. It's as ghetto as it can be. When I say ghetto, it's a tough life. It's not no knock on the people.
Yeah, but I would think it's an insult to favelas to think that we have anything near that close to the bottom that they do. Now, let me back up for a second. Let me
it's relative, but go ahead.
Let me explain something to you. You just said the police and the things that they're doing there. I agree with you. The trick is, I don't live in those neighborhoods. You've been in my neighborhood.
You can do that in the United States. You can live in a nice, pristine, a very nice neighborhood.
Hold on, watch this. In the United States, you could be Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Do you remember when Dr. Henry Louis Gates got arrested?
He shouldn't have lost his key. He shouldn't have lost his key. Go ahead.
Don't know. Dr. Henry Louis Gates, who his friends call him Skip, I believe, is a renowned academic who somehow dropped or lost the key to his own house, goes to his house, the police arrest him on his front lawn because they said, we don't believe you live in this house. And he's known, respected, and got money. Here, that doesn't happen outside of the bad neighborhood.
And he was able to call his friend Barack President Barack Obama, and President Barack Obama responded to his call. Remember, the United States is the only. How close is Brazil to electing a non-white Brazilian president? Crickets. Hello.
You're getting on the topic. We're not talking about this. Like I said, people are going to be very uncomfortable with some of the things I'm saying today.
Oh, we're going to get rough
We're
today.
not here to talk about what happens to Brazilians. We're here to talk about the things that you and I and people in this chat can benefit from. I'm not here to make the plight of a Black Brazilian worse, but I'm certainly not going to pretend that I can carry their plight on my back. So when you claim racism, you can't claim racism on Black Americans because first, we've already survived at least equal racism. There's no place else in the world that's going to be worse. Two, when you come to a place like Brazil, you are first American. Unlike any place where we've been from.
Yet and still, thousands of Black peoples throughout the diaspora from poor countries are breaking their necks still to come to the United States.
Look at what Roudy said. Roudy said, yes, there's racism in Brazil. The only advantage a Black foreigner has is a passport, potential income. So I'm basically being judged on my income and what my education level is. He said, I'm living in Copacabana and in the beach of Bahia de Cunha, and the exchange currency is 5-1.
Now, Yusef, now come on now. When I lived in Bahia, whenever I walked into a bank or mall, I would get confronted by the security guard or police until I identified myself as an American. Now, I can walk into the mall in the United States in top neighborhoods, and it's not going to happen every time. In Brazil and in Bahia, it was every time. In Rio, it was every time that I walked into a high-end area, I was confronted by some security guard. So once I started speaking perfect English and babbling about I didn't know Portuguese, even though I did know Portuguese, and pulling out my passport, then all of a sudden they started tap dancing. So you can't paint it as this rosy picture that you're just judged solely by your financial merits in Brazil.
Well, here's the thing, and now here's where we're going to have to get classist, Brother David. Where were these malls that you were going into? Because the malls I go into, that's just not the issue.
Oh, Yusef, I wasn't good. Yusef,
Yeah.
hold
on. Let me give credit to somebody real quick. Let me give credit to Roudy. Yeah, the difference between ghettos and favela is the ghetto has some form of government assistance. This is a favela. People, these are houses built out of scraps. We don't have anything like that in America. It's not equal. You can't say a favela is equal to a ghetto.
Agreed. But to compare. But I was trying to give people in America who've never been to, both of you have been to Brazil and we've lived in Brazil. I was trying to give people in the United States a issue to find out what, to try to get a sense of what a favela is. They can't relate to it. So the closest thing we had is some of the hardest core ghettos that we have in the United States. That's the closest that we can compare it to, compared to a wealthy white neighborhood. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're equivalent. I'm just trying to make trying to come up with some kind of model that we can compare.
That's fair. That's fair. Let me see, where were we going down? We got some good comments coming on, and thank you guys very much. By the way, Brother DK always said, make sure you check me out on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where you can meet with me professionally. A lot of people who hire me to do different things first find me on LinkedIn. And when you catch me on LinkedIn, not only should you send me a friend request, however, you should also, I tell people don't just look at my resume. I tell people when they catch me on LinkedIn, don't just add me as a friend, scroll down, because my resume, it's impressive. I got a lot of stuff there, done a lot of things. Right now, my biggest focus has been on expat relocation services, meaning I've been helping people leave the United States to move to Brazil and get their paperwork done. And I'll give you guys a quick, a quick flash on that. But what I wanted to tell you was that at the bottom, at the very bottom, let me scroll down here in a second.
Hey, who is the, somebody educate me, who was the Black president of the Brazil, that Brazil had? What was his name? So I can look it up.
You got me.
Joe Franco. Send it, Joe Franco, if you're listening, send me the name in the chat. Thanks.
And by the way, LinkedIn has something great here. They have recommendations. This is when other business professionals can pipe up and say, yes, this guy is who he claims to be, pay him. This is where other business professionals from all over the world who have worked with me, have hired me with their companies, have outsourced to me, contracted with me, can say, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. Let's see. And we had a question on, let's see, hold on a second. DK from the Rockies had an excellent point he made. He said, but at David, is that not how people have gained wealth in the past? Like Yusef, folks have gone to cheaper areas to make their riches go further to build more wealth.
Yes, it is true that people have gone to some that is one way to become wealthy, or another way is you become so wealthy it doesn't matter what your what the uh, income is. I would say yes and no, because in the United States, um, wealth has been created in wealthy areas. For example, Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, which are high cost of living places. They also have high opportunity, lots of opportunity. So sometimes you have to be around wealthy, influential people, access to technology, access to educational centers, in order to create the microcosm, or to create the cluster of ideas and exchange of monies to make money. So yes and no, but I mean, Yusef is saying that, hey, I'm going to take my American money, pack my bags, and I'm going to move to Brazil. I'm here to present the opposite case, and not necessarily I totally disagree with him, but I'm saying it's not so simple, simply because Yusef is not living on the Brazilian economy. He's living on an American economy in Brazil.
You keep making my point for me.
Oh.
You keep making my point for me. And first of all, I never told anybody this was easy. People come to me and they talk about wanting to live that expat life.
So Yusef, let's get down and dirty. Talk about, and I don't know if you want to talk about it. It's okay, you're not. But talk about the number of failures, the failed couples, the failed stories, the failed expats who come to Brazil and fall flat on their face and are so broke that they may say, YusefWateef, I need some money to get the hell out of here because I'm not making it.
Okay, Dave is bringing some stuff up.
Now that might be another topic, and we don't have to go there.
No, we can talk about it. I'm not going to use anyone's name, but we can talk about it because Dave, I've told Dave some stories. In order to succeed in the world, in order to succeed as an expat, you have to be better than an average American. Let me just put that out there. Give people some time to sit with that for a minute and get mad. You have to be better than the average American. Anybody has anything negative to say, as long as it's respectful, I'm waiting for you to put it in the comments. Here's the reality. I say you have to be better than the average American because if you leave the United States, excuse me, you're no longer in the American system. You've got to be able to feed yourself. As a matter of fact, just so y'all can't say Wateef never gave you anything, I'm going to have someone who is a high-end programmer and developer come on here and talk to you guys about classes that you can take outside of university to get to his salary, just so you can't say Wateef never gave you anything.
Now, go ahead.
There are people who come here, and this is what they do. I'll tell you one of the biggest compliments that I've had in this chat is someone said that I'm telling the truth. That's why I don't have as many people following my channel as I should. I'm not out here selling you a bunch of it's all parties and girls that don't speak English and you don't speak Portuguese, but they love you and money is
know about those tours.
I work just as hard as I did in the United States. I just work fewer hours to make a higher income. Before I came, I prepared. Before I came, I understood that I needed to have 6 months built up in the bank just in case I was wrong. And then I didn't.
You have to also tell the audience that you were not the average Joe. I agree with you. You were not the average Joe. We've known each other for years. You were not the average Joe Blow in America. And you're the type of person who would make it anywhere. You lived in Japan. You lived in Thailand. If you lived in Sweden or Switzerland, one of the highest income places in the world, you would be in the same position. Not solely because of geo-arbitrage, but because of your own entrepreneurial talents, irregardless of expenses, or irregardless of the cost of living, or the cost of living of the country. So you would do well in Finland. I got you stumped. I stumped you.
I'll tell you why. If I had to choose between Finland and Brazil, I would still choose Brazil. Finland is a place that has universal health care, high standard of living. No one there goes hungry. People have houses and a pot of chicken every night. But I won't be able to rise as high above the average income in Finland as I am in Brazil. Because I'm able to, in Finland, a middle-class life is kind of like a middle-class life in America. You're going to get a car. You're going to get some other things. You're going to get a house. But in Finland, a middle-class Finn person doesn't have a living made.
You were not poor here.
You're right.
You're making my point. You were not poor here. And so most people, look, Let's be honest. Most Americans are looking for something. You know why so many people have failed going to Brazil and other countries with lower cost of living with a pack of money in their pocket and weren't able to create anything? Is because they weren't able to create anything at home. They weren't able to create anything at home, and going overseas is 10 times as difficult. It is extremely difficult and resourceful. If not, everyone would be doing it. You are the exception to the rule.
I accept that, but I do. Here's the difference. I accept that I am the exception to the rule, but I do not accept that I am exceptional by birth. I had people invest time and teaching into me. See, a lot of people think,
and you were willing to accept it.
Yes, but I didn't have. There wasn't none of that pull you up by your own bootstraps. It was parents, father, mother, community, people taking time to invest wisdom into me so I could learn. We don't get those kind of investments in wisdom in a lot of the Black communities. But Omar had a great question, and we have two sides of the coin here. Omar said, why would you want to live on another country's economy other than the U.S.? BK said, why not live on as many countries' economy as possible by providing products and or services that builds generational wealth? They're both right. And I'll give you an example. Here in Brazil, there is a investment market just like any other place. The difference is this. I can make money in Brazil, and because I'm earning money in Brazil, I can legally claim that money. I can be in the Brazilian economy. And a lot of people don't really catch that. A lot of people, one of the most important things you can do as an expat, as a matter of fact, hold on, let me show you guys something. I'm going to show you. Go ahead.
So Yusef, compared to the United States, since you've had a business, you've had your own business in the United States and Brazil. I have not. I've had my own business in the United States. I have not in Brazil. Which country is easier to open a business illegally?
Not what kind of business are we talking about?
You know the answer. You know the answer.
But here's the
answer. The United States.
Opening a brick and mortar. No, I would tell you
not a brick and mortar, LLC, a sales business, any registered legal business where you're paying taxes. I'm not talking about under the table.
And I don't do under the table. You're right.
It's easier in the United States. So for anyone that wants to move to Brazil and do what you do, first challenge is try to open up a business in the United States. Try to run a Kool-Aid stand before you pack your bags and run to Brazil.
Yes. Yes, that I'll give you.
Okay. Second off, when it comes to access and infrastructure, information access infrastructure, which is better, the United States or Brazil?
I would have to say the U.S. because that's where I get a lot of my information.
2-0. When it comes to, I gotta ask the big one. When it comes to healthcare and healthcare access and healthcare technology, which is better, the United States or Brazil?
Brazil.
Okay, you got us on that.
Okay, so, and I'm like, why? Hold on, people. Let me explain why. And by the way, just for hold on, where'd it go?
I don't think I'm gonna get any comments agreeing with me today. I think I am in deep enemy territory. I'm behind enemy lines. I'm Rambo.
I'm gonna explain why healthcare is better in Brazil.
It's better if you have what?
If you're breathing.
If you have money.
No.
So you're saying that a poor person in Brazil gets better healthcare than a poor person in America?
Without question. Unequivocally.
Shots fired.
Because you have public healthcare. You have everyone is enrolled in healthcare. Only in the United States. Is medicine seen as something you have to deserve. And this is not a Brazil thing. That's the thing. This is not a Brazil thing. This is people in every country in the world understand medicine should not be.
Medicine shouldn't be what?
It shouldn't be something withheld if you're poor.
Well, we're not going to get off topic, but we'll give Brazil the nods up on the medicine.
That's the thing. Because in America,
because I can't be a hypocrite. Hell, I'm coming to Brazil eventually get these teeth done. So shit, I can't.
Oh yeah, we talk about that all the time. Like anybody who is coming to Brazil, I have people who come here who are my clients. I bring them in for medical issues. I bring them in for dental work. I bring them in because they need hospital care. And in the United States, they can't get the care that they need at a price they can actually afford. By the way, check that one out. We did that earlier. I just left the link there, investing money abroad and why you should invest money abroad. I did that on my Patreon. I left the link there for the people who want to see that. I talk specifically about some of the investments I make in the Brazilian stock market and investment market and how they've been working out for me. That's the thing. So when you talk about medicine,
yeah, I think BK from the Rockies hit it on the nail right there. But wait a minute, I got a fan. Charles Merriweather is backing me up. Yusef, before you can pack your bags and even think about Brazil, you need to, well, no, he kind of said prepare. He's kind of agreeing with me, but Yusef, you need to have been able to open up and survive and thrive in the United States. If you are a factory worker at Joe Blow's plant and you save up 2 weeks worth of pay and you go to Brazil looking for a job or looking for, you're not going to make it. You're going to fall flat on your face, and you have not clients, but you know people personally, and I know people personally who have gone to Brazil and have fallen flat on their face.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So it's not Brazil, it's you. You're saying that somehow Brazil is qualitatively better than going to Chile or Argentina or Mexico.
As a middle-class person, yes.
Oh.
But no, I'm not talking. Let's not even get off track. I'm not talking about Argentina or Chile. I'm only
okay. Let's stick with Brazil.
Brazil and the United States.
Because there's places in the United States, there's places in the South, there's rural places, there's places in the United States that are cheaper, that has less competition, that have lower cost of living. And why can't you do the same thing there? Why couldn't you have moved to Tuscaloosa, Alabama? Roll Tide. Why couldn't you move to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and taken your same skills and talents to where you were living in a higher cost of living and do that in the United States? Why is it better in Brazil versus, let's say, going to Hattiesburg, Mississippi?
Exactly. I'll tell you why. São Paulo is the, I think, 10th or 12th largest city in the world.
It's huge. Yes, it is.
Here in Brazil, in São Paulo, Brazil, you have everything, literally everything, available to you all the time. You don't have to give up by living in rural places where things close at 8 p.m.
Okay, Omar.
You know?
You might have me. Mississippi. Okay, let's scratch Mississippi. Alabama. Okay, let's go Alabama or Georgia. Okay, can we do Georgia?
So let me go back here. I agree. Why would I want to live in Mississippi?
Well, I'm getting beat up today. I said, okay, let's scratch Mississippi. Let's go ahead and jump to Georgia. But anyway, Yusef, but my point is that your
Trady got it. The lower cost of living does not equate to the economy in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
All I'm saying is that with what you're doing, Yusef, which is online, internet, Bitcoin, consulting online, remote work. Do you know what the biggest trend in the United States right now? There was an article. I haven't learned how to share the screen, but there was an article in the Birmingham News. Birmingham, Alabama is a dead town. Now it is going through a boom because people from high-tech Atlanta, Raleigh-Durham, and other places are moving to Birmingham, Alabama because they can work 100% remote. And so now those rural places that you laughed at, Hattiesburg, Tuscaloosa, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Memphis, scratch Memphis, Knoxville, those places that you laughed at are now going through a renaissance because of this thing that we're using right now, this technology. Yusef, if your clients are paying you and you're consulting people from overseas, you're dealing in business with people in the United States, then you can do the same thing here. But you were always doing this. You were always doing some kind of remote business, some kind of long distance business because of YusefWateef, not because of Brazil. Does your audience know that you thrived in Thailand? Does your audience know that you lived in high cost of living Japan? Does your audience know that you've lived in some of the most expensive countries in the world? You're proving my point. The most expensive countries in the world, and you were able to thrive and grow. So it has nothing to do with Brazil. It has to do with you.
I believe it has to do
these with the internet and airplanes. No country is a small town in the United States anymore.
Hey, Trey D said, who wants to live in a small little country town that has nothing to offer? I was born in Niagara Falls, New York, in case you didn't know. 2 generations ago, it was a hopping place. Now I don't think they're actually qualified to be called a city anymore. I think that once they went under 50,000, they're classified as a town.
David is right. I've lived in Sao Paulo. It is an amazing city. I enjoyed it. They have a great metro. But we're not going to even get into this. We're not going to even get into this to the negatives of Sao Paulo, which we will get into the negatives of Sao Paulo. But Sao Paulo is a world-class city for the wealthy. Yes, it is. But Yusef, you cannot say simply because if you just simply move to Brazil with $50,000 in the bank, that all of a sudden that you're going to be living in paradise. That is absolutely not true. It is going to take work legally. We're not talking about illegally. It is going to take work, talent, and skill. And I'm saying that you had those work, talent, and skills. Come on, Yusef, you went from middle class United States, all credit yourself. Unlike me, you've always been an entrepreneur. I'm a company man. I've been a company man for all these years. You were an entrepreneur from the jump. That is why you were thriving in Brazil or thriving in Thailand or thriving in Japan, which one has one of the highest cost of living in the United States, or thriving in China. Not because of Sao Paulo, not because Sao Paulo is qualitatively any better than Buenos Aires.
Hey, brother Jeffrey said, I'm not feeling the deep south. Not going to happen.
Yeah, it ain't like the deep north is any better. I'd love to have another discussion on is the north better than the south. It ain't. Just ask people in Warren, Michigan, that got their houses spray painted with nigger all over the side of the house. But anyway, let's get back to the point. It's YusefWateef that is a successful person, not Brazil. Because if we look at the statistics, if we look at the hardcore statistics, Brazil is not a prime spot that people are net migrating to. People are net migrating to Canada, number 1 in the world. The United States, still number 2. Europe, boatloads. There's nobody trying to immigrate and flood into Brazil.
Oh, I would. Well, let me put it to you this way. We understand the concept of brain drain, right? When the best and brightest and most talented are leaving. One of the things that I still don't know if I know for certain mainstream America isn't quite up on it, and I know most Black Americans aren't. But the brain drain from the talented end of the educated end of Black Americans has been like a torrent. I can't tell you how many Black Americans call me and say, yeah, I got 2 degrees and I'm working on my doctorate. Do you think I'll be able to live in Brazil? And how much will that cost me to get your country? Really? You'll be here in 6 months. Let's get it going. You have no idea how many, and this is the problem. I have cousins that are regular guys that have regular jobs. They're getting left behind because the people like you, me, we have no intention on being old in the United States of America. We have no intention on that happening. Let me see. I'm from Selma, Alabama originally. Even if those tech jobs and the booming comes to the South, the salaries won't sustain you. My starting salary was a retiring salary in Alabama. Damn. My starting salary.
Exactly. So I'm saying that if you were a remote worker working for a Maryland IT company, you could live in Tuskegee, Alabama, which is dirt cheap, and you could thrive. But okay, we can't compare Sao Paulo to Tuscaloosa or Tuskegee, Alabama. Of course we can't. But what I'm saying is that your argument is that, if YusefWateef relocates and brings his skills and talents, which he was already doing in the United States, then he can replicate that same thing in Brazil. The first challenge is, Yusef, to anyone to be successful in Brazil is that because remember in Brazil, so look, when you get these calls like, hey, I'm so-and-so, I have a degree in electrical engineering. What kind of jobs can I get in Brazil? What do you tell them? They want to come and just get a job.
Oh, the first thing I do is I put my staff on it. I take their education. We do an intake form, find out whether or not there are any companies down here for them. And here's something else a lot of people don't know. Because you have that level of education, the community of
Trey, I'm in Dallas. Dallas Fort Worth is one of the most booming economic engines on the planet right now. But go ahead.
A lot of people don't know that consulting is a real thing. So you get somebody who's got a couple years experience as an electrical engineer that lives abroad, they can do consulting work for countries all over the world. Let's not even talk about that.
What electrical engineer with IT experience is having trouble getting jobs in the United States? Right now, at the company that I work with, which I cannot name, because of the HB1 visa fiasco, they are desperately looking for people with IT and engineering skills and paying over $100,000 a year to start. Now, if that's not enough for you, but for most people in Texas, that's a lot. That's enough money to live a decent middle class life.
Hold on, Rael said wrong. There are many white professionals who are moving to predominantly non-white areas for lower cost of living places. First world country people migrate for different reasons than people from second and third world countries. He's right. But what I'm saying is,
well, we're not talking. Wait a minute. This show, we're not talking about white Americans now. We're not talking about white Americans. That's a whole different subject. Because why would you even move? But that's another topic.
Right, here's the thing. That's the interesting part. Most folks don't know life ain't good for poor white folks. Anyway.
I know it's not. But this you specific did. All right. Let me get this straight. Did you specifically say Black Americans relocating to Brazil or anybody?
At an increasing and alarming rate.
Right. So white Americans, it's a whole different level because Europe, Asia, there's a lot of opportunities. Black people migrate. Brazil's appeal, Yusef, versus going to, let's say, Israel or versus going to Mexico is probably for Black Americans is probably because of the large Afro populations in Brazil. Would you not say that is a factor?
Ash L, thanks for the $5. But so you're in Medellin, Colombia, Ash L. I've got a couple people out there. Have we connected? Do this, Ash. Send me an email. My email is YusefWateef@gmail.com.
And you got to get him on the show.
What I want to do is we need to connect. Ash, I want you to email me your phone number, and we'll chat. YusefWateef@gmail.com.
Look at this. Look, Yusef. I got some fans. I got Rael and Trey. Trey is in Mansfield. I'm in Plano, Trey. Rael loves it. So here, these are people that have relocated to Texas for lower cost of living, better quality of life, and have created their own reality. As a matter of fact, there's a city, Trey, do you know there's a city in DeSoto called DeSoto, Texas? Do you know where DeSoto is? Which is considered now the Black Mecca now of the South. We have all these wealthy, successful African Americans that have moved and created their own little oasis. Do you have that in Brazil, Yusef? Amongst Afro, do you have that?
No. So yeah, that's what I want. Ash, I want you to email me. So said, yeah, he's in Texas.
Let's see, another plus for the United States. Make America black again. I mean, great again.
Nowadays, you can work remotely online.
I hope everybody. I know everybody. I like to joke a lot, so please excuse me. I don't mean to offend anybody, but you can't take these. This conversation is a serious conversation, but we can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, Rael, you're right.
Rael is exactly right, and Rael, thank you for jumping on Team David in this discussion. If you have any kind of social consciousness, Black people in Brazil are treated horribly. The racism is outstanding. And how can you, as a Black American person, move to Brazil and see that Klan racism and love it? Come on, Rael, teach.
You're advocating they stay in America and love it. Stop pretending like America is a place where Black people can just walk out, the butterflies go, you stretch out, and pick up morning newspaper and not worry about being.
I'm in all Black areas, so I don't know.
Ash, yeah, let's talk. I want to talk to you about as someone who's moving to Colombia. I want some information from you. Let's talk. Now, Jeff, Jeff said he's gonna come up and talk with us after the election. We'd like to table this conversation. Yeah, we'll.
Jeffrey. Oh, I also want to tell Jeffrey. I think you live in D.C., Maryland, Virginia, right? Jeffrey, I used to live there. That is one of the best areas, I think, for Black folks in the United States. But that's just a side item, man. Go ahead.
Trey D said I'm getting close.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Email me. We can talk. That's what I do.
Well, retirement is different from use of what you're talking about. Retirement. I got a pension coming. I got Social Security. I can live in a number of countries. Well, that's totally different, Yusef, than what you're talking about.
Hold on,
man. Roudy made a great comment. Wow? That's a
window.
Well, while Yusef is taking a break, Roudy, you said don't forget Black men are fed up with the culture and feminism. Gynocracy, rat race, bad diet. We can explore and build elsewhere like everyone. Yes, we need to network and prepare. Well, Black men and women are probably tired of the same thing.
Feminism.
Yeah, wow, that's deep. I moved from Atlanta to Texas. Atlanta has good business environment, but culture, as far as I'm concerned, is trash. Many people rave about Brazilian, and I mean,
Dave, what is a gynocracy?
Gyno, man, woman, gynocracy, gyno.
Yeah, well, I understand. I know what gyno means. It means woman, but
yes, he's saying culture, feminism, gynocracy, basically women domination, excess feminism. That stuff he's criticizing. I'm not saying he's agreed. That's what he's saying.
Because I've never believed that women. That women got to be in control.
Well, that's another topic. That might be the next show, and me bring Roudy Benoit. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. That's another topic because that's a whole can of worms. I want to open up those can of worms right now. So put that can back into the bottle. So let's be honest, Yusef. Let's talk real. Most brothers are moving to Brazil because of the hot women. They're moving to Brazil they're moving to Brazil because they want to get some hot action in the bedroom. They're moving because they believe that they'll be treated like royalty and kings. And we all know about a gentleman who had tours specifically addressing that. Most people are not going to Brazil for its fine art museum, its wonderful Afro-Brazilian museum, or Sao Paulo's grand classical theaters that has, or the wonderful metro in Brazil. That is why the top places are Bahia and Rio de Janeiro. What you're talking about is these same people that are attracted to Brazil for those other reasons are not going to make it. Now, Yusef, what were the top 3 things on why all those expats, many of them Black, came to Brazil and fell flat on their face and had to hightail their butt back to the United States?
They had no way. The number 1, 2 answer probably. They had no way to. Come
on, say it. The number one was what? Come on.
Way to sustain themselves.
No. The men. The men. It was the women. Number one down.
They came to Brazil and left they left Brazil because of the women.
Because they got somebody pregnant or had some children or had into a relationship that went sour.
Do I know guys that have happened to? Yes, but I don't know that that's the reason they leave. I mean,
because they can't make no money because they get sucked up into the Brazilian economy and they can't make any money.
Let me do something real quick. Let me come back to that. That resonates for the culture allows women to have right, privilege, and power without responsibility and accountability. That's the gynocracy.
Ooh. All right, Yusef, table that one. Table it, because that's another discussion. Let's stick to the Brazil versus the United States. Best for Black folks topic.
Okay.
Or anybody. This is not just Black folks. Anybody.
Bad money management.
So
Omar said bad money management.
So Yusef, if someone with a 420 credit rating is trying to come to Brazil, why would they? They can't manage their money here.
You're right.
Now, student loans might be a reason to run. I mean, move. I didn't mean to say run.
I've had that conversation. I cannot endorse bailing out on it because here's the thing: most people are getting those students loans when they're too young to understand. Here's where I would look at it. If you're 25, 30 years old and you got all these student loans and you decide I'm gonna just get these loans, get my degree because it's a lot I'm gonna run, I think that's stupid.
Well,
but now you tell me somebody that's 40 or 50 decides to run up a bunch of loans, getting that master's degree, and then hit the bricks. Because at 40 or 50, you know what life is about. And you can say you have enough life experience to say, I might not be coming back to America. So when your money is right and you need someone to coach you through having to figure out how you can get your money right, that's the best way to do it. Make sure, by the way, we got a lot of people watching right now. Thank you. Make sure everybody clicks the like button and make sure you subscribe. That's critically important. That's critically important because that's how this channel grows. But yeah, as far as when your money is right, that's a great time to move. Now, something that Raya says, that's an entirely different discussion.
You should move to Brazil because you like it. Porque você gosta. That is the reason you should move to Brazil, not because of this financial imbalance you're talking about.
I made some of the best decisions of my life based solely on ruthless and selfish long-term financial planning.
If that was the case, Yusef, you would even live in even a less expensive. You live in Brazil because you like it. Because you like it.
I'll tell you why that's not true. I'll tell you why Brazil is the perfect medium. Brazil is a developing nation prices with full first-class, first-world amenities. What a lot of people don't understand, and somebody here in the comments, I'm looking for it. Somebody in the comments said that, where is it? Boom. Black people believe the media propaganda and don't bother to do their research. Most people don't even know there are countries outside of America that are just like every other place in America. I mean, I'm running a YouTube channel on Wi-Fi in downtown Sao Paulo. People genuinely believe in their hearts that you can't have a country where things aren't very expensive and still have things like functioning healthcare system that's better than America and all. I live down here just like I would live downtown in any other major city in the world, except I'm paying so much less in Brazil. I could go to a country. Go ahead.
I have sent you a link that I want you to post in the chat. It is an academic discussion on Brazil and its issues with blackness that every person should realize, because we got to realize when you move to Brazil and when you relocate to Brazil, your blackness is not going to disappear. Yes, you may have the blue passport and you may have a little bit more wealth, but you are not solely just judged on your wealth. You are going to fall into a category based on your physical characteristics. And it's very important people to know. I sent it in the private chat on the stream. It's very important for people to know that's reality. That you may end up marrying a Brazilian. You may end up having children with someone who won't have necessarily those wealth privileges. And by the off chance that you run out of money and you end up in the local economy, then you've got to deal with that reality. So there's lots of issues when we're talking about specifically Brazil. Brazil is not a racial panacea that people claim it is. It is not a place. I'm sorry, guys. It's not a place where you're walking down the street and these supermodel women are just going to be falling out over you. It's just not like that on TV. If that's not happening to you, and if you don't have no game in the United States, you ain't gonna have no game in Brazil. So let's get that out the way. And it's not easy to do what YusefWateef has done. It is very difficult, which is why so few people have done it, which is why he has created a business out of it, because so many people have failed. Any person of color moving to Brazil, partly of the reason they're moving out of the United States, albeit its cost of living, is the social and racial situation here. And the worse the racial situation gets, the more people are talking about leaving and going to somewhere else. Why? Why would they go to somewhere else? Because they're looking for some sort of utopia. They're looking for some sort of fantasy. They're looking for an improvement. Yes, they are. Come on.
They're looking for an improvement, but an improvement is in no way indicating that you're looking for a utopia. You could simply be wanting to live in a situation where you don't worry about being shot in the back of your head for being black. Let me say that again. I was never looking for a utopia. I don't have any clients that are looking for a utopia. You have never.
Then why not Lagos, Nigeria? Why not Lagos, Nigeria?
Lagos, Nigeria doesn't have nearly as many of the amenities as Sao Paulo, Brazil.
We have anybody from Nigeria on the chat? I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but
they're beautiful places. And if you want that lifestyle, that's fine. I like a metropolitan lifestyle where I can go do what I want when I want. If I want to say, hey, Jeff, let's go get some Korean food cooked by Koreans, surrounded by Koreans, Sao Paulo, Brazil has that shit.
Okay, all right. You got me on the Korea town and the Japan town. So just to let everybody know that I've been to Sao Paulo. I've been a guest of Yusef's house. I've lived in Rio and I've lived in Bahia. But that's funny. And I see Jeffrey's beating me down, man. I'm losing badly with this. Look,
what Dave Renee said. You mean I can't date Adriana Lima and Giselle Bündchen? Here's the thing: if you were dating those kind of women in America, yes, you can come to Brazil.
I'm going to say something on the dating scene is very, very offensive. Are you ready? You got the seatbelt on.
Oh, here we go. I'm listening.
If you are into dating sisters, if you're dating black women, Brazil is a wonderful paradise because you have so many different shades of sisters and they're so beautiful. But most black men that go to Brazil that I see, they want to date someone that looks like Ivanka Trump.
In Brazil?
Yes, in southern Curitiba, they're blonde and blue-haired with big butts. Come on, be realist. And the women, the same thing. They want to date somebody that looks like The Rock. Let's be real.
We live in look, I'm going to tell you what it's like in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Okay. Sao Paulo, Brazil. I watch men from all over the world, including a lot of Europeans and specifically a lot of Germans and a lot of Englishmen come
that's
here.
That's like that in Africa. No, you can't talk about Germans because when I lived in Ghana and Accra, Ghana, these German and European men would come and they would fall out over these black women. They would fall out over these beautiful black sisters. But in Brazil, black American men come to date white women. That's all there's to it.
If you don't but here's the thing.
Son is hot and raw is in my corner. He's saying the truth. If you don't have a substantial amount of money, if you don't have a game plan or skills, you can forget moving to Brazil. Forget it. If you're already asking like, how am I going to get a job? How am I going to do this? You're not ready.
Substantial is not it's subjective.
Let's talk numbers. How much? $5,000? $1,000?
I would say I teach my clients this. When you come here, I want you to land off the airplane with $6,000 US clear. And then within the first,
know how many Americans don't have $6,000 right now? A lot. How many middle-class Americans have $6,000 liquid in the bank account they can go snatch out right now? They don't. $6,000 US with what kind of skills? Let's get a profile because we're not talking about the guy that's working at McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King. Forget that. What kind of skill set are we talking about? Are we talking one that's highly educated? Are we talking one that's highly mobile? So we said they need to have $6,000 in some type of skills. What kind of skills? Do they need a degree? Do they need a technical skill? What do they need?
They need a skill. Here's the thing. If you want to go to work for a Brazilian company, there are things that you would need. For example, having a degree is good. If you want to go to work and have Brazilian clients, like I have a lot of Brazilian clients that know who I am through my LinkedIn profile and through word of mouth and recommendation, I have degrees, but my degrees are unrelated to some of the things.
And what kind of, and usually let's talk about your educational training. What kind of degrees you have? Are they, what is it, basket weaving or fried chicken? What are we talking about? What kind of skills are you bringing to the table? Let's be honest. What kind of skills are you bringing to the table?
I have a management degree, but here's the thing. What I'm saying, that's not
what else? What other kind of expert skills do you have?
You said earlier, if you are someone who is willing to have a skill that they can market, there you go.
You have a management degree. You're a trained chef. You also have a very good skill in writing. These are not average skills.
There you go. Trade
D. If you got military retirement and disability,
you're fine.
Brazil, go to Chile. But yeah, you're good, Trey. You're good. Trey is not what Yusef is talking about. Trey is not what Yusef is talking. Jeffrey Johnson, you're not the average. You're a seasoned professor who speaks fluent Portuguese. Come on, man. You are not. Come on. You're way ahead of the game. Yusef is not being honest. The type of
Son said, if you're saying I can take 20,000 British pounds and be successful in Brazil, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, let me tell you what 20,000 British pounds is. 20,000 British pounds is 145,000 Brazilian real. Okay. Now, here's the problem with that. You need that money to get started. I don't want you, unless you're retirement age, I don't want you to come to Brazil with that amount of money and not ever think about working again. What I want is that amount of money does two things for you. One, it gets you secure. You can secure your first couple of months rent in a nice apartment. Two, it'll give you several months before you have to actually get your business back online here, because there may be a gap. One of the things that I train my clients to do is practice what they're doing or going to do online in the United States, so that when they come over, they can maybe take a pause, but that pause can be, I call it the get it out of your system phase. When they get to Brazil, they could start working, but I say take a month, go visit Bahia, go visit Rio, go visit some other places, then come back. You've got your apartment set up, you've got your job set up, now you can go from there. So no, unless you're formally retired, I don't suggest you come to Brazil in order to not ever work again, unless you have a couple of million, because you don't know what the future is going to hold. David was right about America's not having at least 6K in the bank. I think some of the recent article. Yeah, you're right. A lot of people, he got me with that. A lot of people don't have 6K to just walk away with. Robert Jackson said, for young black men, the USA offers more financial opportunities than Brazil. I support the Second Amendment, and no other country requires citizens.
Robert Jackson is 100% correct. The financial opportunities for black men from scratch. There's no other country, despite all of its problems. And trust me, I know the United States is number one. And as far as right to bear arms, there's no question. United States, hands down. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
What else did he say? I just want to point out, I believe in traveling and living in other countries, but there needs to be balanced perspective. There are yes, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Brother Charles Merriweather said something interesting. He said Brazil's a third world country. Here's the trick. Third world country is usually a pejorative. Brazil is what you would call developing nation. Meaning that, well, it's literally a nation that isn't as long and established as someplace like the United States. Remember, the Brazilian Constitution is younger than I am. So
let's go to what the I want to read something according to the definition of third world. I think we need to get some definitions here. Third world country. I got this from Investopedia. That's a good website. Third world country is an outdated and offensive term for a developing nation characterized by a population with low and middle incomes and other socioeconomic factors. So what it is, the World Bank basically puts countries in different tiers, developed and developing, and based on income, socioeconomic indicators, birth rate, the number of deaths at the number of births that die at birth, disease rate, life expectancy, GDP, output, military power. And so Brazil is classified as a developing country based on these factors as defined by the International Monetary Fund. That's where those definitions come from.
Yeah.
So the United States in those definitions, now don't get offended, but the United States, according to those definitions, would be a first world country based on its gross domestic product. That's the amount of stuff, goods, and services that it produces, based on its military power, based on its income, and based on its life expectancy. The United States is considered a developed nation. Those are subjective, I know, but that's how they define Brazil as a third world nation. And so what Yusef is talking about is taking advantage of your quote unquote developed status and moving to a developing country simply to take advantage of the economic imbalances. In other words, be a big fish in a little pond as opposed to be a big fish in a big pond, or a little fish in a big pond, or a big fish in a pond with fish that are even bigger. So Yusef does have a point, because if I wanted to open up a chain of restaurants of a particular, it would be harder to do in the United States simply because it's so corporately developed versus Brazil. But I'm saying, because of the United States, because of the ease by which it is to create a business, I can create a business in 45 minutes online. I can create an LLC or an S corporation. The ease which it is to create a business in the United States, and the fact that the United States is so much more practiced in terms of business than in Brazil, that your opportunities here are actually even greater than Brazil. And if you're able to sustain yourself and create opportunities here, you will be able to use those same skills and talents in Brazil. But if you're talking about just packing your bags and moving with $6,000, no, you're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to last about 90 months and you'll be on the first Delta Airlines flight back to Atlanta.
Mm. Mm. We had another question from Afro Nuts. Can you link up a Brazilian if you want to get context? Yeah, I have people come to me for different reasons. You have to be very specific about what you're asking me, though.
And David, oh, look at the comment David Fears made. The next plan, he says, why not try? You can always go back home. Yes, the fact that you can always go back to the United States is your trump card. No pun intended. But the fact that you can always go back to the United States, and the reason that you can go back to the United States is because the United States still is, for better or for worse, the world's superpower and the world's economic business engine on steroids.
Yeah.
So I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I don't think Yusef is saying that you can just take some money and invest it in Brazil and make lots of money. Brazil has a lot of issues, and let's talk about the issues that Brazil has. Let's talk about its infrastructure issues. Let's talk about the social economic. Let's talk about the difficulty when it opens up businesses.
We have something Dave said. This is something a lot of people don't realize, and I tell people this all the time. What got me started in traveling, the easiest way for me to make a middle-class income anywhere in the world, I started teaching English to adults, to business people. I got a certificate. And I just started learning how to teach English, and it made me a middle-class income. And from there, I own my own teaching company now, and I do some other things. But the reality is, a lot of folks don't know that that's an option. A lot of people don't know that you really can do that, and you're not teaching a classroom, full of children. Matter of fact, here I'm going to put this on the screen for anybody who doesn't know. I did this article called "She Asked How Do I Start an Expat Career Teaching in Brazil." Check that out. And this young woman came to me for some advice, and I was able to help her. Let me go up for a quick second. Sun is hot, Rob. You said, what could I invest in for 20 grand in Brazil? I want to go back, and I'll say this to you again. On the Patreon today, we talked about some of the things that I invested in Brazil, some of the accounts I invest in, and some of the mutual funds and things like that have been profitable here in Brazil. That's not really something that people on the YouTube channel are going to have a lot of fun with. So I always try to make sure the things that I do on my Patreon, that's a lot of the nuts and bolts. That's a lot of the really hardcore pieces of data and information that people need. So I answered your question there. I'm also going to give you a link to, hold on a second, give you a link to this. There. And where'd it go? Excuse me. There. We did that. And it really, we were able to open up a few things. We were able to really open up a few things there. and we put it here. So if this can help you, there we go. There we go. That video is on the Patreon list, and it's after a career as a financial professional and traveling the world, I've learned that investing in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds is quite different and easier.
What are the reasons? So name reasons that people should not go to Brazil. Like if they have motivations to go to Brazil for, if someone came to you and said, look, I just want to go to Brazil and relax and party all day, or, is there a situation you would say, hey, man, Brazil's not for you. You don't need to come here. Maybe you need to stay at home and get yourself together. If you were doing a client intake.
Wait, I don't understand say that again?
If you were doing a client intake, right. What do you look at? What qualities this person can make it, and what are some of the qualities that they would not be able to make it? Like, hey, this person's just not right for this. What would be some of those qualities?
I've had situations where I couldn't take someone as a client, and I advised them to come back to me in a year. And in that year, I'll help them as much as I can. But I've had clients who didn't have any marketable skills, or they had something.
Okay. Stop right there. So when you say they didn't have any marketable skills, let's be more specific. You don't have to say the client's name, but what were they lacking?
They lacked a skill that was in any way differentiating or unique from regular blue collar work.
Mm-hmm. So blue collar workers can forget Brazil.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Then what are you saying?
I'll give you an example. My buddy Pat, electrician, makes a ton of money. He could come to Brazil and work for a bunch of different companies, or he could come to Brazil and simply be, and this is what I would want him to do, be a consultant. Blue collar work, high level of income.
So, but these people that were lacking the skills, they were just lacking entrepreneurial drive. They didn't have the emotional intelligence. They weren't skilled enough. They weren't mature enough. What was it?
Let me think. It's not that they lacked the drive. It's that they lacked the ability to realize, I think a lot of them, thank you. I don't think a lot of the people really understand. If I don't feel like you get it when I explain to you some of the hardships you're going to deal with, I can't take you as a client. If you don't understand that there are going to be situations where we're going to have things done in a certain timing. There are some people, now interestingly enough, the people who come to me with the most money usually are the ones who don't want to listen, because they genuinely believe they can just throw money at the situation and make it go away. And it doesn't work that way. Just because you have money in the bank, you still have to go ahead and wait the correct amount of time to get certain paperwork done. You still have to figure out how to, what's the phrase? Time your paperwork. You can't just go right into it. And you also can't lie. I had a situation where there was I had someone who was in a situation where he neglected to talk about his criminal past, even though I asked him when we did our intake.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So no criminal record, no kind of felonies, nothing like that.
Here's the thing. It's possible, but you have to be upfront about it. There may be other hoops you have to go through. I'm not saying having a felony is going to definitely lock you out. What I'm saying is there may be other hoops you have to go through, but those hoops cannot be gone through or dealt with if you're not honest about it.
Oh, they will. Look at the next comment. Me myself opened up those can of worms, and Yusef is trying to hide in the background.
What? No.
Go down to me myself's last comment. He said, "I heard colorism is big in Brazil. How are dark-skinned black men treated in Brazil?" So let me start off with saying this, because I've lived in Bahia, I've lived in Rio, and I've lived in Sao Paulo. Let me tell you something, me myself, my dear brother. In Brazil, you have three categories. You have negro, you have Moreno, and then you have, you have your other races, but Negro Moreno. So Black Americans, because of the one drop rule, I know this is going to hurt a lot of feelings. Because of the one drop rule, all of us with any amount of Black lineage or Black look or Black characteristics are classified in Brazil. In the United States are classified in Black. In Brazil, you are not. So you will meet someone that will be classified as Black in America who will be classified as Moreno or some other color. So you have to be able to deal psychologically with the different racial categorizations that the Portuguese did and which Brazil carries on today. Also, you must realize that the more Negro you look, the more you look like this, the lower you are on this socio-economic scale. Now, as an American, you'll be able to overcome that because of your fluency in English, because of your blue passport. But colorism is Brazil. It's not only huge in Brazil, it is Brazil. And Yusef can't run from that. He can't hide from it. He can't put it under the bushel basket. It's just the way it is. And for a lot of us who are conscious of this sickness, it is something that you can't stand. So I would advise anybody that if you're not into that, if you can't deal with that, Brazil is the last place you should go. Counter that, Yusef.
But everything you just said is correct, except the trump card is when you're from the United States, that stuff tends to just vanish because they will always prioritize you being an American over anything else. And that's an unfortunate reality. Like I said at the beginning,
that's uncomfortable. That's uncomfortable to deal with and live with. Because colorism, the most advanced country when it comes to colorism, believe it or not, is probably maybe the United States, maybe England. I don't know. Is Ra born on here? Ra, what's his name? Sun Hot is Ra. I've been to London 6 times and Liverpool and Birmingham, but I don't know if that is such a big deal in Europe, especially the UK, as it is in America. But Brazil, that's big time. So me myself, colorism is huge in Brazil. As a matter of fact, it's so sick and so twisted, it makes New Orleans look like a piece of cake. Now, Yusef, I want to talk about, I'm going to say it in Portuguese. Como são os impostos no Brasil? What are the taxes like? Como são os impostos no Brasil?
The impostos, the taxes. Brazilian taxes, I have a small business license here. Like I have so it allows me to hire and things like that. If you stay under, it's like the United States. You can dodge a lot by staying under certain thresholds.
Mm-hmm. So, is it a progressive tax? Is it a flat tax? Is it complex?
No, it's complex, and I think it's between 7 and 25%, depending. And unfortunately, their tax system is just as complex as the American tax system. And
is American money taxed? Is there a corporate tax rate? Is there a small business tax rate? Is there income tax?
American money through a bank into this country, yeah, you're going to get hit hard.
And how much are we talking about to hit?
Depends on the bank, but I mean, let me check real quick.
Because I heard somebody jump on Canada about the taxes and high cost of living. Yes, Canada does have high taxes and it does have a higher cost of living, but it's so nice and the healthcare is so free. Those are the advantages you have. As opposed to Brazil, I mean, what are you getting for these taxes? So every resident, permanent resident, you get insurance, you get national insurance, or is Brazil the type of country where you need to go to private hospitals to get decent health care? Would you go to a public hospital in Brazil?
Sure.
I would have no issue going to a public hospital in the United States, but would you go to a public hospital in Brazil?
Yes, because and I'll give you a couple of things. One, and this is where we're going to get uncomfortable again, depends on where you live. Just like you can go to a school in the United States where the average home value is really low and your school is a shitball, or if you go to a place where the value of homes is higher, the school is better. It's just like that in Brazil with the healthcare.
So it's kind of like it's kind of the same thing as I've never experienced the healthcare system in Brazil. I've never delved into that part. So
I do have private healthcare though. That's the thing. I tell people all the time I have private healthcare.
And how expensive is that?
I'll give you an example. I can get a full physical. Matter of fact, I'll just bring it up on the screen. Let's say I want to get a full physical, which I do every 6 months. top to bottom, flashlight down my throat, flashlight up my behind. Just they want to get all the information.
Complete body physical.
Complete body physical. Let's see. I'm going to give you checkups here. Heart checkup, 283 Brazilian real. That's 50 US dollars.
Mm.
You know, a routine checkup is, I don't know, 90 US dollars. If you're over 40 and you want the deep one, you know, that's the same price as a heart checkup.
Mm-hmm.
A woman's checkup, 473. Checkup for women over 40, 519. But yeah, that's, I mean, and let's do this. Let's say you're going to get in a men's physical and hear all the things that, as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to reload this page in English so I don't have to try to translate all this.
So I'm going to translate that. That means this checkup for a man over 40.
Right.
So everybody who doesn't know, Omim means man. You don't have to translate it. We can translate it on the fly.
Fasting glucose, urina, creatine, potassium, sodium, urea, cholesterol. I forgot what that was. Urology consultation, return urology, meaning you get a follow-up visit. Not only do they do that, but when you get your stuff back.
Okay, so as an experiment, I am going to call a doctor. And I'm going to get back with you. So I'm going to ask for that checkup with no insurance and see what they tell me. And I'll email you the results. See how much it would cost. I have insurance, but I'm going to call a random doctor and say, hey, I want to get this checkup. How much will it cost?
This is a heart checkup.
Oh, hemoglobin. Right. Wow, that is right. Creatine, potassium, sodium, urea. Okay, that's like doing labs. I wonder, are they putting you on the, I wonder if they're giving you an echocardiogram, or are they putting you on the treadmill?
I'm going to go get one just to tell you guys what it's like. We got to start wrapping this up.
You do. We've had a great discussion. I think that I took a whole lot of L's today, but I'll take the lumps like a man. Some good questions. We'll have to have that colorism thought, because there's a lot of, and classism and colorism. We're going to have that on a panel with the mix of African Americans and Black Brazilians to talk about colorism, because we get a variety of opinions of racism and colorism, what it means like in Brazil. But I don't want anybody to be under any illusion that Brazil is a racial panacea. Please do not get it in your head, because you will be disappointed. So
now, one thing I do want to say, David, if I'm not mistaken, you are Brazilian, but if I'm not mistaken, you were raised in the United States with American culture and everything else. You may have had correct me if I'm wrong, but for you to say being Brazilian and Black and never had that issue,
that's his personal experience. I know some Brazilians from Brazil who will say the just opposite, who grew up there.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
that perspective. I don't think David is. I think David was born in Brazil, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but if I'm not mistaken, you were raised in America. If someone met you, there's no way they would say you're Brazilian. I don't think that.
We'll have that discussion. We'll have to table that. That'll be a different discussion. These will be some great comments in there. Oh yeah, Yusef.
I haven't done any videos on my time in Thailand. You know what I need to, though?
John, this is a guy this is the type of guy that I could parachute out of a plane at 1,000 feet with $100 in his pocket, and he could thrive anywhere. Don't let him fool you. It is not easy to recreate what Mr. Wateef has done all over the planet. He has a unique set of skills, as Liam Neeson said in that movie. He has a unique set of skills, and he's here to show you those set of skills. Don't be fooled. Not the average person can do this. We have to be very honest about honest about our skills and what we can and can't do.
So my assessment of David was correct.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying racism is global, and don't let it. I'm just saying that if you're looking to go to Brazil to escape colorism, you're going to the colorism experts. So don't even think that way. You're not going to. I don't think Yusef is talking about escaping racism. I think Yusef is just simply taking advantage of his American passport and leveraging his education and skills in a developing country because he thinks that you'll do better than that than, let's say, moving to a lower cost of living place in the United States.
So here you go. Brother John Thomas, and by the way, John, make sure you click like, share, and subscribe. In Bangkok, Thailand, I've got some pictures from there on my website, but you know what I need to do? I really need to go back and do a couple videos.
Well, DJ Jackson is there, and he is thriving in Thailand. He says he loves it. So, we have a friend named DJ Jackson. He's a world-class martial artist. He is living in Thailand and teaching in Thailand, and he is not coming back to the United States. He said he is over it. I also have another friend, Mustafa Akamo, who moved back to the Philippines. He's half Filipino. He's African American and Filipino. He moved back to the Philippines, bought a plot of land, and he is loving it. He is not coming back. So, I mean, there's lots of options for people. There's a lot of reasons that people move overseas, but the primary reason is because you like it. You know, I say você gosta because you like it, not because of those reasons Yusef gave is primarily because you like it. Because the question is, would you like it if you didn't have a lot of money? And you probably would because you see the glass half full as opposed to someone else even half empty. If you had half the money you made use of, you'd probably stay there because you like it, not because it's any more advantageous to anywhere else.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, folks, thank you all so much for taking time out of your day.
Boa noite, boa tarde.
You know, we need to do this, and we need to have these kind of conversations more often. We need to be able to have open and honest discussion about what is and is not, and the different ideas that are going to come out. Because if we don't, I mean, no one gets to learn anything.
Obrigado por este tempo.
Ciao, folks.
Ciao.
End broadcast.